Welcome everybody to the next episode of the Cannabis Review. I'm delighted to be joined in this episode by Arnau Valdovinos, who's the principal consultant at Cannamonitor based in Spain. How are you keeping today, Arnau?
Very well, thank you for having me.
I'm delighted to have you on the show. Can you maybe give everybody a little overview of how you came into the industry and your current position at Cannamonitor?
Sure. So I've been involved in the cannabis space since I was quite young, maybe too young even. But in a professional sense, it all came about 6 years ago. I started working for a British consultancy. I saw it as an opportunity to merge my skills in market research and consultancy with one of my passions, which was the cannabis plant. And about 3 years ago, I started my own practice, which is Cannamonitor, working mostly with European clients on market intelligence and research on the European markets.
Very good. I'm going to start off with the Cannamonitor report that you guys have been working on in Spain. Can you maybe give everybody an overview of this report, the sectors that it covers? Is it just Spain specific, and why this would be valuable to a lot of the European operators?
Yeah, so this is a report that is focused on Spain. We do not cover any other markets, even though of course, they have some relevance also for the Spanish market because there are some operators that are in both cases. And essentially, the goal was to provide a comprehensive view on the situation in Spain because now the Spainabis is coming up. Everybody's asking questions like, what happens with the clubs? What happens with what are these CBD stores that I see on the street, etc., etc. And nobody knew exactly how the market is set up and what are the different segments and the operators and how it all works. So essentially, we cover pretty comprehensively all the segments of the industry by doing a market sizing in terms of how many employees there are, what are the revenues generated, what have been the investments in each segment of the industry. And this covers particularly medical cannabis because it's now going to get legalized finally in the country, but also CBD, also the home growing industry, and also the illicit market, which is very prevalent and growing in Spain.
Okay, let's start with the Spain and the medical cannabis industry over there. Spain has always kind of been one of the forefront leaders in Europe. Everybody's known about the social clubs for a long time, but it's pretty surprising that if you actually have been checking on this territory, that there is no medical cannabis program at all over in Spain. And this new Minister of Health that's been brought in after your general elections seems to be very pro medical cannabis and bringing this industry to the fore. Can you maybe give everybody a little breakdown of, is flower included? Is it regular pharmacies? Is it specialized doctors? What are the proposed conditions that they're looking to bring in for this medical market in Spain?
Yeah, so as we are speaking, we do not have the final version of the royal decree that will legalize medical cannabis in the country, sadly. However, we know what the ministry has said, which is in application of the conclusions of a parliamentary commission that happened in 2022. So we have some idea of how it may play out. For now, there are no mentions that the flower are going to be included. So it seems like the regulator will choose pharmaceutical forms in the form of extracts. It is not clear yet which of them, probably oils, but maybe a different one. Also, the list of the pharmaceutical forms could potentially be expanded in the future, which is also important. Also, how it is worded in the sense of how easy it is to get new formats in the scheme is going to be massively important. Other factors are of course, the number of who can prescribe, which it looks like it's going to be just specialists. And another thing is who can dispense these products, which it looks like it might be only in the hospitals. But then again, we do not know how the wording of this decree is going to be. Therefore, how easy it will be to expand this dispensation also to community pharmacies, because obviously, if you look at a map of Spain, it's quite big for the population it has. So many patients are going to be far away from the hospitals where they need to get their medicines. So it probably makes sense to allow community pharmacies to dispense as well.
They seem to be taking a conservative approach initially for the first stage of this medical program, but as you said, on a territory basis, the cost and the traveling time frame for patients who may be sick, hospital pharmacies is a pretty a reserved strategy that they would take. I would imagine that the Pharmacy Union of Spain are lobbying hard to be able to ensure that their members are able to dispense and sell these products.
This is one of the advantages of the new regulation, which, as you say, it's quite conservative. I would say that pretty much every country, when they first regulate medical cannabis, they tend to be pretty conservative, as you are very well aware in Ireland, but also in other markets in Europe has had the same situation. However, one advantage that all the colleges of doctors and pharmacists are on board with the new regulation, which is that we're necessarily 100% on board with regulations, as we're seeing now, for instance, in Germany with the recreational legalization. So it's quite conservative, but we certainly hope for it to get expanded over time and sooner rather than later.
When it comes to the specialist doctors that are allowed to prescribe, is this somebody who's a certified pain specialist or a certified oncology expert? Because I would imagine that if telemedicine has got to be a big part of the program in Spain due to, as you said, the location of patients away from major cities, do you see the prescriptions being written by a condensed small amount of specialist doctors? And if so, do you think there'll be any international expertise that are able to take part in the industry, or would it be closed to just Spanish specialists?
Yes, so sadly we do not know yet the specific list of specialists that are going to be able to prescribe. However, by looking at the indications that the regulator wants to include, which are mostly pain and particularly chronic pain, which is also an important thing to the fact that all chronic pain patients are, at least in theory, going to be able to be prescribed medical cannabis. We would assume that pain specialists are gonna be able to prescribe, but we do not know that. It seems like the regulator is very worried about possible diversion to the illicit market, which is, I mean, it's probably more based on their fears rather than an actual reality on the ground. But it seems like at the beginning they want to make sure that this is not possible. So things like telemedicine and even something that is very normal in Germany or the UK, like shipping the products from the pharmacy to the patient by the mail, seems like this is not going to be possible in the early stages of the new program, as it is not allowed for other medicines in Spain generally.
It also could be a positive thing that doesn't allow one large company to control the industry by being able to deliver these medicines. It seems that there's going to have to be localized clinics for each individual territory.
Yeah, maybe. I think being that the market is going to be a magistral sector, so the pharmacies will need to prepare each prescription according to the indications of the doctor, as it is in Germany, for instance. In Germany, we see that there are a relatively small number of pharmacies that serve the population through the post, and they can offer better prices and maybe better service and a wider assortment of products than other pharmacies. So I think that allowing this type of things wouldn't be bad at all for the system. I think that giving freedom to prescribe and freedom to get as many products of the greatest quality possible is always the goal of a medical cannabis scheme.
Yeah, and as you said, there's no country in the world yet that's just opened up the gates for a medical market. It's always been step by step and incremental gains. Moving on to the next topic, which a lot of people have always been posting about, is the social clubs in Spain. We're a little bit detached over here in Ireland and other parts of Europe. We kind of get headlines, and the last big headline was one of the mayors in Barcelona was looking to close down the social clubs. Is this still the case? And if so, are the social clubs so ingrained in society that it is not possible now to remove them?
To be honest, the landscape of social clubs in Spain is highly localized depending on the area. For instance, in Madrid, clubs have been closed for years. They had some problems with the police, etc., etc. So one might say that Barcelona was probably the hotbed of these clubs, and because apart from other areas, but Barcelona in particular, um, thanks to some regulations developed by the municipal council. So what we are seeing now, after the courts repealed these municipal regulations in the past due to inconstitutionality, um, we are seeing a shift in the position of the municipal council that is very, very worrisome, of course. And the situation is still quite uncertain. There might be a part of simply populist tactics, because there's an ongoing security situation in the city that the council might want to look like they are acting upon, even though, of course, the clubs are quite the harm reduction initiative that actually gets people out from the streets from street dealing and so on. So the situation could very well deteriorate if the clubs were to be curtailed in their activities. For now, there has been a ramp up in inspections of these clubs, but it is not certain at all what's going to happen in the next few months. It looks like at least next week with the Spain-based, they are still gonna be open. And to be honest, as far as I remember, in the last few years, they have always been there has always been concerns with the clubs regarding their likely legal status in the future, and this seems likely to remain for the time being, because they are, as you are well aware, it's not they are not legal in the sense that they are written into the legislation, but rather a loophole in the gray area.
On a lighter note now, you have Spain-based next week. I reckon you'll be a pretty busy man with everybody trying to pull at you from all angles. Are you looking forward to Spain-based? Have you got a number of events lined up that you plan on attending?
Yeah, absolutely. It's getting better year after year. It's no longer only Spain-based, but there's a plethora of parallel events. Some that are more focused on the, let's say, cannabis cups and contests, others that are more professional networking events. So yeah, I'm going to be attending the Cannabis Hub, which is a local entity in Barcelona. They are doing an event. I'm going to be attending the Cannabis Genomics Conference, which is a new event created this year based on genetics, which is something very interesting. I will be at ICBC, which is, of course, B2B networking event, and I will be, of course, also at Spain-based, and looking forward to catching up with everybody. It's really nice having everybody come to your city, and so I do not need to move for the networking. Everybody comes to me.
Yeah, and I think having something like Spain-based and the other satellite events around you is nothing but good business for Cannamonitor, and anybody who's watching this who's not reached out to Arno yet. If you're remotely thinking about entering into the Spanish market or need up-to-date regulatory and legal information, Cannamonitor are the main place to be checking out when you go into the Spanish market. Arno, I might get you to make an introduction to the Cannabis Cup founders, because I think that's something that the viewers would love to hear an interview from the people who manage the Cannabis Cup.
Cannabis Cup founders, the contest,
yeah.
You mean?
Yeah, the contest.
Okay, let's speak offline about it.
Yeah, I will indeed. We're just coming up to the 15 minutes now. Again, anybody who's going into the Spanish market that hasn't dealt with Arno or Cannamonitor yet, I highly recommend it. Their website is going to be below in wherever you're watching or listening to this episode. But for now, Arno, thank you very much for your time. We might even touch base in a couple of weeks and you can give us a rundown of how good the Spain-based week was and why everybody in the global industry should be attending that every year.
Amazing. It's been an absolute pleasure, Owen. I hope you have a great day and great week.
And same to you, Arno. Till next episode, everybody.